Hey guys, it's Caleb Giddings here along with,
Keith Finch.
And Jack.
and I'd like to welcome you to the first episode of the Sig Sauer podcast because they bought this with all of the money they got from the Army. I'm kidding, they didn't, but it kind of...
They didn't buy it, but we will be sending them an invoice, and I assume it'll just be paid.
Yeah. Did you hear there was actually a guy? Okay, side story before we talk about what we're going to talk about, which is Sig Sauer. There was actually a guy in our industry who got blacklisted because he would do that. He would just send, and it was never a lot of money. You know, he would send like random $500, $750 invoices to big companies, figure out who their accounting process. And they would just, Beretta's like, yeah, I lost $500 last week, and just writes a check for it. He eventually got caught and is blacklisted now, but
They had that happen. That guy was inspired by another dude who was doing that to a bunch of big tech companies like Microsoft, Amazon, Yahoo. He would just send them small invoices. So $2,000 here, $1,500 there. And like most of the time, the invoice just got paid.
Yeah. They're just like, yeah, this looks legit. Lick the stamp and send it. Let's go. I was kind of hoping that the guy who was defrauding big tech was like sending like $50,000 invoices, and they were just like, yeah, whatever, pay it.
Well, it was like 1,000 to 5,000 when he did it.
That's a pretty good amount.
And just on a semi-regular basis, sent them. Dude did it for like a year or 18 months, got a ton of money out of it. But like definitely broke felonious barrier levels. So he's in prison, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, he went to jail. I don't know if the gun industry guy went to jail. And I will actually have to say this. I don't know if the gun industry thing actually ever happened, because that was one of those stories that was told to me by a friend at a bar who had heard it from a friend. So what may have happened was...
Heard it from a friend.
So what may have happened was they heard the tech guy story, and somewhere along the game of telephone, it got turned into a gun industry story. So I will fully cop. Mine may not have happened.
Like you do.
Like you do. All right, guys. So this week, I'm back. I will be fully upfront with the listeners about why I missed last week, and they'll enjoy this. So we have, for those that don't know, I have a child, a human one, and we have an in-home nanny who brings her 4-year-old daughter along to work, or 5-year-old daughter now along to work, and it's a little bit chaotic, and I have a lot of shit to do. So I left the house and I went to a bar to work, which I was actually working. I wasn't drinking, but I was writing and doing all this other stuff. And I get a phone call being like, "Are you coming today?" And I'm like, "No, just nope, not gonna happen today." So that's why I missed last week's episode. I wish it was something cool, like I was actually in the mines of Moria with my 7-shot revolver. But I did listen. I didn't just like slap that episode together and be like, "All right, this is good, I'm gonna send it." So anyway, we are talking about the big piece of news this week, which is Sig Sauer getting the contract for the next generation squad weapon.
Slash actually the M4 replacement, but we can't call it that.
But it's not actually the M4 replacement. So I got some fun inside baseball on that. So who wants to go first?
All right.
I'll run it down.
All right, go.
I'll run it. So for those who have lived under rocks but somehow just listened to our podcast, Sig Sauer,
for you guys.
The win,
You need a better news source,
right? Just 3 guys talking on the internet. Great. There could be nothing better. But Sig Sauer won the NGSW, the Next Generation Squad Weapon System, which was basically the Army going, "Hey, we would like new bullets. Could you build guns around these new bullets for us?" And Sig did, and Beretta and True Velocity did one, and Textron did one, and I think FN did one real early, but they dropped out of the competition early. I've heard that was because the machine gun didn't make weight. But yeah, so there were 4, then there were 3, 2, and then Sig just won it with their MCX and their MCX saw. So
yeah, it's technically the MCX Spear.
Mm-hmm.
With like a couple of modifications, and this, I think I saw it 6.8 times 51 millimeter.
Yes,
is the official like measurement of this round.
Yeah,
and they're not doing the weird.
That will be the metric NATO designation. It will be 6.8 by 51.
So, yeah, and
they're not doing the weird
hybrid ammo that True Velocity came out with. It's brass case, normal ammo. It's basically a necked down 7.62 case.
That's literally all it is. Or they looked all the way back at 276 Penderson and went, that'll fit.
Yeah. So
the cool thing about the ammo is basically the fun thing about I've been writing about this most of the day. The fun thing about all three stages is Sig got the contract, the solicitation the same time the others did, but it's like everybody in the Sig board room was like, how do we do this with the least amount of work? And so they're like, well, we have the MCX Spear done, so let's just slap a 6.8 barrel in it. Metallic ammunition works fine, so let's just beef up the back end of the case so that we don't have to use thick brass and we get more case volume and save weight. And then for the machine gun, let's just build a nice machine gun. And that, yeah.
I have heard it is a very nice machine gun. The rifle itself is unbelievably heavy. So the one thing that a lot of people on the internet are talking about is Sig's. I have to give Sig's PR machine absolute credit for this. Every single press release that Sig has set out has made it sound like this gun is going to replace every M4 in the hands of every combat arms trooper in the Army. And that's not true. First off, if you look at the actual solicitation, the actual contract, it's only for $20 million. You can't make enough M4s for every combat arms trooper in the Army for $20 million. It's the people that are getting this gun first is the special operations community. It's going to the face shooters and the Army special operations community first. And I'm going to go ahead and make everybody on the show a $500 bet. I'm not going to pay everybody $500. This is the $500 bet, is that this gun will also probably never make it out of the special operations community.
So I've actually heard a different rumor than that.
Hit me.
Okay, so special operations is probably getting a bunch of these. Like that is going to occur. The pitch that I was told was an entire combat brigade of the new Army combat brigading system, which if you're not into, the Army's developing a new methodology for how they deploy troops. It's really cool. I won't waste your time on here because it would probably be like an hour and a half long show to go through all of it. I have some friends who are involved in it, but one of the first heavy brigades, and these would be the guys that we would send to fight like a peer level adversary. They are the guys who are getting these in masse.
Which is not Russia anymore.
No.
What was
certainly not
Russia, and we've got to find a new one.
Was formerly Russia. China is definitely not wanting the title, and all of Europe
China's
is like
no, Vladimir, you can keep it. Vladimir, keep it.
So the idea that I understand is it's going to a heavy combat brigade in mass, and they're going to get all of them. And that's where this guy, I don't think it makes a ton of sense in mass for what most of special operations is doing right now.
I don't actually really disagree with that. The whole, what I was sold or told was that this is basically a replacement for the HK416 that has been around in SOCOM for a really long time now. And the entire reason it's being replaced is because special operations wanted an intermediate cartridge. That's true. Yeah. And HK was basically like, we're not going to support these weapon systems. Do you guys want parts? Get fucked, was the unofficial response from HK on supporting the 416, some of which are reaching end of life cycle with the beatings that these guys put on these guns.
I mean, like the 416 has a life cycle that's not great to look at anyway.
Yeah.
Like
no, the guns beat themselves up. Like right. They're reliable, but they do beat themselves up.
So guys, interesting question that we're about to find out. Is Jack right or am I right? Is this going to go to a brigade combat team, or is it going to go to SOCOM first and then trickle out to the regular army?
Now,
I bet
I've heard the same
would
thing that Jack has, that it would be going to a brigade. And that would make sense in the same way that the Marine Corps started adopting the M27. The M27 first went to Regiment 27, hence the M27. It first went to Regiment. They tried it out in the regiment, and then they were like, yes, we like this. And then they adopted it one by one for each of the combat regiments.
Now, I would say, guessing where we're going to see him first, if I had to put my $100 bet, where will we see these in like promo stuff first? The Rangers. I would bet dollars to donuts. The Rangers have had a 13-inch SCAR 308 system for a very long time. This is a 13-inch 6.8 by 51 millimeter intermediate cartridge that weighs the exact, like the system weighs the same as this 13-inch SCAR. They're flat out same weight, same bracket, same job, new gun. I would bet the machine gun, the belt feds, and these M5s, as I think XM5 is the official designation right now.
Yeah,
I think the XM5s
and
the 250s are going to go to the regiment first. And they will kind of fill a role where they supplement the M4s in that area. We're still talking about like a armor piercing 6.8 millimeter round is designed to defeat level 4 body armor.
Yes.
How many people actually wear level 4 body armor?
This was one of its crucial jobs. Like the Army wanted this new ammo, and like I said, like Army didn't need a new rifle. Army wanted a new bullet. They wanted a new round that could do more things than 5.56 or 7.62 alone offered to them. And they'd basically maxed the stats on both the M855 and the M80 when they went to the A1 variants of both, which do have that armor penetrative tip and are better rounds than the legacy rounds. They're better made, they're more consistent, they're more accurate, and they will armor defeat, but you'd still maxed the capabilities of those rounds in those mass weights. And we had 6.8 sitting in the wings here for almost 100 years since the 276 Penderson was looked at for the M1 Garand, where we kind of knew that like in that 120 to 150 grain weight mass for a bullet, like 7 millimeter was like that was the one you wanted because it would actually fly well. So you would get a lot of range out of it. You'd get a lot of retained velocity out of it. We've known that for a very long time.
So back to what Jack said about the Rangers, because I had to like actually go and look some stuff up about how the Rangers are operationally organized, because they're part of Army Special Operations Command, not Reg Army. So if they're doing the brigade combat team deployment, they wouldn't go Rangers first. They'd go like to the 82nd or to an actual like stood up BCT, not to a special missions unit.
I think they'll individually trickle to special mission units before they
for sure
to a full brigade. Also, because these new brigades are not set up yet,
right?
And it's kind of a weird system where you have like a brigade will now consist of. I'd have to pull it up. Please don't quote me on this. And also, I'd like to point out I'm a civilian. I get all my news from OSINT sources. I just happen to be really well connected with OSINT. I'm not claiming any secret squirrel status. The new brigades are going to have like SMUs as part of an attached unit.
Okay, so it'll be so interesting. That's weird that the Army's copying the Air Force's structure like that.
Well, so I saw like in the heavy brigade, which would be like the peer-to-peer thing, it was like they had a armor combat team, which was a battalion strength, 2 mechanized battalions, an infantry battalion, a drone unit, a air cav unit, special missions unit, and then all their support stuff. And it was all bundled under one command, and it had like off the command structure, it also had SMU.
Oh, interesting.
So,
okay, so given that organizational structure, it makes sense. And also, I will say this, given the current organizational structure of the Rangers and the Army, getting them into the hands of the Rangers makes the most sense for a number of reasons, not the least of which is that the Rangers have had unbroken combat operations for over like 7,000 days. So if you want to put these guns in the hands of somebody who's going to shoot someone in the face, make sure they work, that would probably be a good place to send it.
I just think the day somebody released the guy who does, I forget his name, I'm not subscribed to him, but he does the like, this is what this infantry unit layout would look like. And it shows like all the weapons that each person has. You've seen these graphics.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've got one.
He did one for the M5 where we see that first, where it's like each dude in an infantry squad has an M5 and there are two M50s, M250s. I think that happens at the brigade level. I think I think we will see wholesale replacement of 249s and 240s with the 250, probably in the Rangers as well. If I had to guess, if I'm throwing fucking wild darts at the board.
I don't know if they'll ever get rid of the fully get rid of the 240, even at the infantry level, because again, I don't know that much about the new M250, but is it as capable in the vehicle mounted role? Because 240s on a vehicle are great.
The 250, the new XM2, it's designed basically to drop in place wherever we have a 240 right now. That was absolutely a concern when they were putting this thing together. I don't know how much mounting hardware needs to be swapped, but the 250 is absolutely meant to drop in place with the 240. And part of that is the folding stock system. So how a 240 vehicle mount might have a butterfly trigger. The 250, awesome. It's literally just fold the stock, click it into the aircraft or click it onto your vehicle.
Which I'm going to go ahead and say this is someone who's fired weapons using butterfly triggers. Butterfly triggers are cooler than trigger triggers. It's just, it's a science fact.
Disagree.
Have you ever shot a Mark 19 with HEDP? Come on.
Not with HEDP, but with markers.
Yeah, markers. HEDP gets you rock hard.
So funny story. I was working with a company that was building a bunch of unserialized Mark 19s for a group, and they were like all really cool. And they were like, "Hey, you want to come try these out?" And I was like, "Yes, I do. I will tell you guys that company later because you'll be like, what?" 100%. That was their bread and butter for a while.
Complete sidebar. There are conversations that I have in this line of work that, like, everybody struggles with burnout and blah, blah, blah. And you get tired of writing press releases about Sig Sauer taking over the world and all of this crap. I got invited to go to a place with people who convert Super Tucano aircraft into ground attack aircraft and do a story about that. And the first thing out of my mouth was, "Can I get a ride?" And they're like, "If it fits within our training schedule, absolutely." And I was like, "Bitch, bet."
Bro,
get me on it.
I always I tell people like, this job's not that interesting. Like it's mostly I do a lot of, I read a lot of reports, I write a lot of reports, I tell people certain things, I listen and I repeat that information to others. And they're like, "Oh yeah, that does sound kind of boring." Then I'm like, "Okay, so I'm hanging out with a bunch of Navy SEALs and we're in a bar and like some Polish dudes walk in and they were not cool with those dudes. And now we're about to be in a fist fight." And I'm like, they're like, what happened? What?
Yeah. I mean, that is sometimes the job.
Those two things don't jive, but like in our line of work, it do be like that.
And sometimes like that it be. So on the topic of Sig, can we also discuss though? And I mean, okay, I'm sure the new
what hasn't Sig won? What haven't they won?
They got the freaking and they got oh my god, the Air Force
rifle, light machine gun, sidearm, the medium machine gun, which they've had for a while with MARSOC, the MG338, so the MG68's big brother, the 338, which that thing fucks. 21 pounds and the range of the 50 cal. Because it shoots 338 Norma Magnum.
Yeah. I want a 338 Nor. I can't wait till I never ever get to shoot one of those in my career. Another thing, Sig One, the Sig Electro Optics Division, the Air Force is buying Sig 1x10s to put on our M4A1s, which I looked those things up. I'm like, one, that looks like a really good scope on paper, but also, Jesus, what's wrong? And I am turning into the boomer. But come on, you get 300-yard engagement range. All you need is your red dot, man. Your Comp M5 will get you there. I don't need 10 power magnification.
I'm gonna have to disagree. I've got the astigmatic eyes, and I much prefer a scope.
Fair. No,
the eyeballs, especially as I ageth, it's like, oh, etched reticle, love.
Yeah, Sig is a good scope.
Ooh, shiny red dot, kind of fuzzy.
So
We'll see how fuzzy it is next year. You're gonna check.
I have a really cool 11.5 build that I got the upper from an FBI SWAT guy when he retired. I built it out, and I've got the Unity aim point mount riser. I got a laser. I got the Surefire. It's really cool. It's super Gucci. And you know what everybody is doing right now? They're like, that sucks. No LPVO, barrel shorter than 14.5. And I'm like, I fucking hate you, internet. I hate you so much.
Don't understand how long I worked to build the coolest cool guy gun from 2014.
Right. I'm just like,
Right?
y'all have no respect for the classics.
I mean, honestly, the friggin' SBR I just built is very 2014 vibes. I have a red dot, a scout light, and a Viz laser, and offset irons on it.
I was looking at your thing, and I was laughing about the fact that like we have more or less the same gun, except mine's in a man's caliber, which is 5.56.
Mine has this.
Yeah, mine's got one of those too. Like, what do you want from me?
Dude, I got to tell you, well, you know what the problem with this is, as we clearly are going off the rails here, is this SBR is really, really cool. You know what would actually make it really cool? If it had a full auto trigger in it.
Oh yeah,
like
100%.
If this thing was full auto, it would be the coolest gun I've ever owned.
Do you know how controllable that would be? Like, I've shot a lot of MP5s, I've shot a lot of UMPs and all that stuff. Full auto AR in pistol caliber carbine in 9mm are ridiculously controllable.
I mean, just in semi-automatic, I can rip with this thing. And I keep thinking, I'm like, all right, I'm going to drive to Florida, give the forced reset trigger guys a bucket full of cash because I don't want to use my credit card or give them my shipping address. And then I'm going to put that in this gun. And then it's not a machine gun.
Per se.
Technically right. Right. I would if you get the opportunity to swing at like a binary fire system 3, though, those are really stupid fun in 9mm too.
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
I thought the Franklin BFS was just utter, like, why would anybody do this? And then I got one for my CZ Scorpion, and I'm like, why would anybody do this? Brrr, that's why.
Because almost machine gun, but not technically, and that's not the best kind of
a machine gun. Not technically a machine gun. I can just have insane split times. To get back to Sig, speaking of things that are insane, I really do want to hand it to their marketing department because those guys are really, really good. If you just, and we said this at the top of the show, but I want to circle back to it. If you just read Sig's press releases about the next generation squad weapon, you would think that like everybody from cooks to, killers was getting this thing, which is not the case. And I'll tell you guys why. Keith and Jack have both heard this story. The last time I was deployed, I saw an Army cat in the chow hall. This was in 2019. I had an M4A1. I had a ratty old Beretta, but love that Beretta. Anyway, I had a brand new M4. This cat in the chow hall in 2019 had an M16A2 with a gooseneck optic mount on it and a carry handle. And I was like, what National Guard armory did you drag that out of the back of, oh boy? So with bearing that in mind, there will still be M4s and M4A1s in the Army even if this weapon were to get selected as the standard issue rifle for everyone in the Army, which it won't. It hasn't yet.
It hasn't yet. It won't.
XM status is it's still.
If the Covenant doesn't show up, that's not happening.
I'm gonna bet.
If I'm not fighting elites and grunts out in my street, They're not giving these to everybody.
Damn it.
No,
I'm gonna bet that
they're
this
going to hold
sucker
on to
goes
the
the way.
M4A1s for another 2 decades easily.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
those
Well,
will still be around.
and if you think about it, we have
I've got one. The entire Air Force will have these before the entire Army has these.
yeah, for sure we will.
Yeah.
Because they're 100%
Oh,
we
yeah.
will. Oh, we don't have any M16s anymore. Like we literally have no more M16s in the Air Force. We've sent them all back.
When I was getting out of the Guard in 2019, I entered the Guard. M16A2s were still the standard, not just hanging around. They were the standard for the state of Michigan. In 2019, a year after everything was supposed to be replaced, if I recall the contract correctly, a year after that, we finally got our crates of M4A1s. It's like, oh, and they're like, what is this newfangled technology? I've never seen this before. Rails on 4 sides? I'm like,
rails on 4 sides.
The finest rifles from 2004. Oh my goodness.
Quad rail.
Oh, 1998.
A CAC foregrip? My God, I've only heard of such things.
The wonders provided to me. I'm going to go ahead and just make a prediction about the XM5 and that it's M14 2.0, and that's going to be its fate as well.
I don't. So we have to put some years on this. I think we need to hold on. I want to give $500 among the 3 of us. It will not reach M4 status, but it will be more popular than the Scar H was among the military.
I mean, that's like a gimme. So no, I will not take that. The Scar H.
I concur with Jack on this one. I think we're going to see I think we're going back to the rolling adoption that NATO tried to get rid of back in the 50s and 60s, where we were all going to have like one ammo, one rifle. That way we can all fight together. And I think we've given up on that totally. And we're now going to see a rolling adoption. I don't think this is going to be as wide. This isn't going to be Army wide, and this isn't going to be Marine Corps wide. What it is going to be is there are going to be some Army units who are more forward facing, who pick it up in sequence. And then the M4s are going to trickle back down. And then the M4s are going to get pushed down, and then the M4s are going to get pushed down. And if the Marine Corps ends up picking this up or picking up a variant of it, to replace the M27s with, so that they can also use the 6.8 ammo, it's going to be the same thing. The 27s are going to get pushed, and then the M4s in inventory are going to get pushed. And then it's going to be a rolling, maintain or replace in place. So like as guns reach end of service life and they're going, all right, well, this brigade's done with M4s and stuff like that, let's order another set of 5s and ship them in. And we're probably never going to see total replacement.
By the time the entire Army gets the XM5, or by then the M5 and the M205 or 250, the Air Force will be carrying micro-sized rail guns.
Yeah,
We'll be like some Space Force dudes will come back and they'll be like, check out this thing that we found on this planet. And if you like put a metal disc in it, it goes a quarter of the speed of light.
The A10 will get revived with a Gauss cannon underneath it. The last guy in the National Guard is like, oh, I finally got my M4A1.
One of my favorite memes about that is there's one of like the Starship Enterprise getting ready to launch, and it's being escorted out by the B-52H model that has warp nacelles where the engines are supposed to be. Oh,
B-52 will not require until it gets to nuke somebody.
Yeah, that's 100% fact. Dude, B-52 drivers got to do CAS on Russian mercenaries in Syria. How rock hard do you think those guys were? Like, did they need to see a doctor?
One of my former bouncers was
I have been waiting for this my entire life.
One of my former bouncers was a navigator on the B-52s that did the Wagner runs. And very cool dude. Absolutely loved him to death. I hated losing him to the Air Force. We worked together for a number of years. He called me, was like, it was the best day ever.
Saved my life. Yeah, I can't. Oh man, that's such a great job. All right, so the other Sig marketing thing. Have you guys noticed? So Sig was also competing for the contract for the M157 fire control system module. They're competing with Vortex and they lost. Have you noticed that in all of the marketing material released by Sig, they have like some random ass Sig electro optics on these guns?
Yeah,
they're
running Tango 6Ts all over. And just like the M4s aren't going away, the contract Sig has for the 3 versions of that optic that the Army bought, like you're going to see Sig optics everywhere because they're going to have thousands of these floating around, even as the M157s come in.
Which I actually think the M157 is sort of the coolest part of this weapon system, because like to me, like, okay, cool, I would have thought it was cooler if it was 1, a bullpup, and 2, fired that weird like plastic hybrid ammo, because now we're starting to get into Halo guns. We're 1 step away from my caseless 11mm rifle, guys. I think the aiming system is actually really cool, because it's not quite into that full-on Magpul HUD that they announced at SHOT Show, that most of which is still vaporware, but it allows a lot of interlinking capabilities in between a squad to really lay down some supremely accurate fire on stuff.
And the ones that they want, the capabilities that Magpul did show at SHOT with the scope and the projected ranging, that's one of the key features in the Vortex optics too. Is that it's not auto aim, but it's auto correct. It will give you like, oh, yep, based on where we're at right now, these are your aim points for your distance. Oh, by the way, that's the distance. Here's your primary aim point.
And the fact that you can link it up to other people in your unit is super cool.
And show them, hey, I'm pointing here. That's the problem.
I just don't want push notifications like what you guys just received from what I sent you. Like, I don't want to be in my scope and it's like, Mom, will you be home for dinner? Like, Mom.
Here's the thing. Keith knows this, and still serving in the military, that's not what the push notification would be. You'd be like in a gunfight, and it would be like, you've not completed your cybersecurity awareness training for this year. Your site access will 100%. It'll just turn your site off because you didn't do your cyber awareness training since the site's got Wi-Fi. You're like, fuck. It'll tell you that you need to do your annual suicide awareness training, and then the gun will turn itself off to be like, come on.
You'll be sitting there like, all right, rifle qualification time, and it's like, you have not completed your health assessment. Did you know drinking is a problem?
You're like, yes, geez, I want to shoot my gun.
And then it's like, okay, please log on to this website to complete your annual certification. You're like, okay, you would click it in the optic and be like, cannot connect.
And then your rifle turns off. Why does my rifle keep turning off? What did I just click on, Jack? What did you send me?
Don't read it out loud. That's all I can tell you.
Yeah, that's a good point. I should not read that out loud. And I'm really glad I'm not sharing my screen right now.
So I think we can all agree XM5, cool, right? We can at least say
it is cool.
Can I just...
No, because I'm a Beretta homer, but fine.
Okay.
That was the dumbest gun I've ever seen in my life. And hold on, I have a two-parter to this. One, that thing was so big, they had to stuff a big dude into a full IOTV set so no one would notice that this gun was the size of a hobbit. That thing was massive. Big. And they're like, they've got the guy in all the armor. I'm like, bro, are you okay? And he's like, this is so heavy.
Can you imagine how sweaty he must have been for that?
They got him like running with it, and the gun doesn't move when he runs with it. Watch the General Dynamics Beretta video, and I swear he like runs like this, and the gun is like perfectly still. Because I think this thing was like, they're like, touch it up, because this thing is way too heavy. Like he's just got it locked in. Look, and I'm not saying you can't have a heavy gun. The one that won is 8 pounds. That's heavy.
It's very heavy.
But SARMs are cheap. All I'm just saying is like the sweat from the regiment is probably like a testosterone booster in and of itself.
I mean, there's a reason why their annual piss tests are very infrequent. Like, what? Weird.
Pencil
It's a lot of
pencil
bologna
whip.
sandwiches in here.
So
All right,
yeah,
guys.
it's
Any
a
last
hammer.
thoughts on Sig? We will agree. I will agree that it's cool, and I will say this: the Beretta offering, which started off as General Dynamics, then General Dynamics was like yeet, and then it went to Future Lone Star Future Weapons, which is a cool name, but it's like 4 guys in a shack. And then they were like, Beretta, please come back and help us. I will say this: it looked cool. It was enormous, though. I mean, it was really, really big, and the can looked like.
The can looked like a potato.
It
They
did.
stuck a potato on the thing.
They put
And
a
they were like,
put a
"Aha,
potato
suppression."
on a Keltec RFB and
Oh.
got you guys to buy it.
The disrespect. All right. So anyway,
They are wrong,
last thoughts on Sig. Their insanely good marketing department.
They're
Anything you guys
insanely
got?
good military sales team. I don't know what kind of briefcases full of money you guys got, but I'd like one of them.
Yeah. No.
Yeah,
If
please
would you
and
guys
thank
like to sponsor the show? I promise I'll stop saying mean things about the M18. I swear to God. One
I
briefcase full of
will
money.
fly to Florida and punch him for every mean thing he's ever said about the M18.
Good thing
Sig
I'm
would
not
like-
in Florida.
And I will film it. It will be Gunday Brunch. Caleb's up and comings.
Gunday Brunch, the Sig sponsorship episode.
Wham, 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 wham.
It's just Jack doing the Mike Tyson thing to that stupid guy in the air.
Mike Tyson did nothing wrong.
He
Did Mike
not.
Tyson fuck somebody up again?
Yo, you didn't hear about this?
clocked
Oh, we're gonna
some
ruin the show with this. But
Stupid
yeah,
guy
Hang on.
on his airplane, and I love it.
Mike Tyson, yeah, he got on a plane and the guy's like, Mike Tyson, gotta take a picture. Mike's like, yeah, you can take a picture. And then he sits down and the guy's like, man, I love you, Mike Tyson, blah, blah, blah. He's behind Mike, just like yelling in his ear. And Mike's like, hey, man, I'm tired of your nonsense. Stop it. Which is how nature tells you you are mere seconds away from the worst day of your life. And he kept going. And Mike Tyson doesn't know how to use his words.
Shaking the seat like the most obnoxious 12-year-old, except this guy's like a 19-year-old boot. I think he's military. I think I read that
55.
somewhere.
No,
Mike Tyson,
dude, he's 55.
Yeah.
What?
No. We're talking about the guy that got punched. So the guy that got punched. Oh, hang on. This is. I'll just say it right up the front. This is why you don't fucking fly JetBlue, guys.
Why is Mike Tyson flying JetBlue?
Why, Mike Tyson.
Mike,
I know you got
can
money.
do better.
Why are you not on Delta? Like, let's be real. Let's be real. This is great though. And the best thing about this is, how are you going to fuck around with Mike Tyson when he literally has a famous quote about that sort of thing that is so popular, it's become a meme. Like, Mike Tyson will punch you in the face.
Bro, I would just not. If I sat down in my plane, I looked over and it was Mike Tyson, I'd be like, mm-hmm.
No, I mean, I think, no, because here's the thing. I think Mike Tyson is cool. And if you're like, hey, huge fan, can I take a picture? And you take your picture and then you go back to watching your movie or you're reading your book or whatever it is you do, you've had the best day of your life.
Interaction.
I wouldn't risk the picture. I'm happy enough with the story. Like, I sat next to Iron Mike and lived.
I got a great story about meeting Randy Couture that I absolutely cannot tell on the air. So
Sounds like it's a perfect time for Gunday Brunch After Dark.
Yeah. All right, guys, that is it for this episode. Thank you everyone for watching, listening, downloading, liking, sharing, and subscribing. Make sure you keep doing those wonderful things. And also please make sure to visit our sponsors, whose banner I'm going to be putting in now. Because we forgot to do it at the top of the show, because I don't know. And at some point, we might have ad reads. You never know. Like, somebody might make Jack pay him to wear a t-shirt, something like that. And again, last but not least, Sig, if you would like to fly us all briefcases full of money, yes, we're in. We are definitely for sale. We are corporate shells. Pay us.
100%.